Last time on D&D featuring Calliope Laurelleaf, the Halfling Bard, Ellie Jobel, the Gnome Ranger Rogue, Phelan, the High Elf Cleric, Talarin, the Wood Elf Ranger, Trogdor, the Dragonborn Barbarian, Torpo, the Hill Dwarf Wizard, and Alaric Lysane, the Human Fighter.
One thing I like to do when players are not present for the session, I typically like to do something that kind of explains like what they're doing and why they are not present, rather than just ignoring the fact that they're just not there. So for example, in the last session, Calliope could not make it, so it just worked out that they had just teleported to this unusual area near a lake that they were not familiar with, and they had children with them. So Calliope basically offered to say, hey, you know what, I'll hang out with the kids here at this lake while the rest of you go find out what's going on. So that was a very easy way to explain why Calliope wasn't there. And previously, for example, when Phelan and Alaric couldn't make it, just basically wrote them off as saying, hey, we're going to go look into these cursed swords that we just got. So it, again, just happened to work out really well. So this time, since I'd excused Calliope as watching for the children, we start this session with saying Calliope, who is staying with the children by the lake, sees a small wooden scarecrow suddenly appear from the woods, and it's holding the axes that Alaric once had. It looks at her and then vanishes back into the woods, and roughly an hour later, a hag suddenly appears and overpowers Callie and takes the children, teleports them all into a house. Now this is the same house that the party from the last session has already gone into. So the hag casts a spell that brings Calliope and the children into the house. This house, as they're sitting there, the hag is using her hands and casting magic to manipulate the house's movement much quicker than it normally does for that hour. And during this time, Calliope is basically able to see this reel of time passing before her eyes, where she essentially sees a druid speaking with a dwarf about having to find a way to smuggle the children free, and the dwarf explaining that he has found a way. He's dug a secret hole beneath the house and that they can get the children out that way. And the time reel continues, and she basically sees that the hags discover what's been done, and the hag catches the druid and basically murders and rips the druid, not just kills druid, but literally rips the druid apart, and uses the druid's blood to paint the pentagram on the floor, and then decorates the hallway and the kitchen with the blood, which coats it in that weird blackness. After that, it suddenly appears and shifts on top of a mountain, which is where the party last was. Calliope and the children are escorted when the house seems to come to that stop. They're walked through a maze of caverns, and as they're walked into this area, they see a cauldron and two hags talking to each other, speaking in a language that Calliope is not sure what they're saying. But as she's walking in, Calliope makes a perception check and notices Ellie and Torpo sitting up on a ledge in the shadows, looking down at them, giving the signal to, hey, don't say anything. The hags explain that they need Calliope and her friends because they know they're here somewhere in this swamp to defeat a demon called an Armonite in order to free them from something called the Devil's Deal. And this will allow them to sacrifice these children and gain enough power to resurrect their two dead sister hags. Now those two dead sister hags, one of them we know about. It's the sea hag near that undead town and had pulled the woman into the water and killed her, and this party had gone and killed her. Now there was another hag. I've not done those audio videos yet, so you're going to get a small little spoiler. There's another hag, a green hag, that is defeated by a different party. I'm not going to say when or how to avoid any spoilers, but in one of the other adventures, because all of my adventures are tied together. This is a living world, so what one party does will impact another party. And so this other party defeated a green hag. And so these two hags just happen to be a part of the same coven of that sea hag and this green hag, and they're hoping to resurrect her. But in order to do that, they need to be free of the Devil's Deal so that they can sacrifice these children. Calliope explains that she can go try to find her friends and work on a way to defeat this demon for the hags so that these children do not need to be sacrificed. Maybe Calliope and her friends can just go defeat the demon and save the children. The hags kind of talks amongst each other, and they agree not to harm the children if Calliope keeps her word. Now, can you truly trust the word of a hag? Calliope leaves and meets her companions outside the cave and explains the situation. Trogdor and Alaric go back inside with Calliope and exchange some questions with the hags, and they finally agree to go find this Armonite demon. The hags give their word that they will not harm the children if these heroes defeat the demon. The hags give them a bag of dust. One sprinkled will illuminate a path that only those within 5 feet of the bag being thrown down basically enable them to see an illuminated trail. The hags explain they need the horn of the demon to complete their spell, and that it'll break them from the devil's deal that they have with this Armonite demon. They explain that they've been around for a very long time, hinting that perhaps they may have been around before the first history books were recorded. In this world, that means it's been over 2,000 years. Some history was recorded before 2,000 years. Something happened, sundered the world, and a lot of history was lost. So these hags are indicating that they were around before this massive sundering. And they know of their quest, having released a fallen angel. So the hags are familiar that this fallen angel has been released because of this party, and that their sister, the Green Hag, had been slain because of this party when investigating the power of the fallen angel. Now, if you're curious, when I do get to it in the section called The Adventurers, it'll be sessions 6, 7, and 8. That'll deal with the story with the Green Hag and all of that with the fallen angel. They also explain should they help them defeat the demon, they will help them unlock the power to shatter the sphere of magic that requires a very specific weapon, and is the only weapon that can do so. These hags claim to know what weapon is required to smash the sphere that contains this magic. Now the party is after this sphere because there is magic in this world that has been locked away for thousands and thousands of years. And it is trapped in this sphere that someone was using to basically siphon for themselves. Now there is a single weapon that can break this sphere, and the party wants to find it so they can break the sphere, unlock this magic, increase their abilities, and deal with this fallen angel that they've released. So the hags say they know exactly what the weapon is, where to find it, and if they help, the hags will also help them get this weapon. Again, if you can trust the word of a hag, there is that. It's at this point that Torpo reveals that she knows of a magical orb that contains this ancient magic that the hags speak of. She had done this by basically browsing through that book that they got from the Wizard's Tower. She did not read the whole thing. She merely flipped through some pages, saw some images of a sphere with magic swirling in it. She kind of read a little bit about it, so she understands roughly where this magical sphere is. The party follows the trail into the dark forest, where Torpo succumbs to the dark depression of the forest and falls unconscious. This forest here in the Shadowfell is dark and twisted, and it tinkers and messes with the memories of those who walk through it, whispering sad, depressing things, and it reaches a point that people just slumber to the ground and basically cease to want to get up, and the forest basically grows over them, envelops them, and devours their flesh. A short moment later, the party is attacked by a pack of 4 trolls. Trogdor and Alaric take a considerable amount of damage by the time Torpo is finally awakened and joins the fight, and helps defeat the trolls using her fire spells. Having fought these trolls, or these kinds of trolls before, near the cave with the they knew that fire was the main key, and Torpo was the main person to be able to distribute fire damage. The others did not have anything readily available, and didn't want to take the time to try to dig through their pouch, find a torch, try to light the torch, try to burn the trolls. The party resumes their quest, taking a long rest, where they notice a Peryton circling above, and it doesn't seem to be aware of their presence, being hidden by the trees. The party's rest is uneventful, thankfully, and they resume, eventually coming to a base of a volcano. The party ventures inside, and the deeper they go, the hotter it gets. Naturally, those in metal armor feel a great sense of discomfort, and as they go deeper, it becomes painful as the heat from the volcano basically begins to heat the metal, which touches their flesh and begins to burn them. They eventually reach the Armonite demon, and Calliope decides to step forward and speak with it. Being the most charismatic, she is a bard, and she is really good at what she does. She explains that there are hags that have sent them to kill the demon. When the demon asks why, Calliope explains that they're holding the children hostage. The demon becomes concerned with knowing the location of these children suddenly. Calliope explains that the hags are holding them hostage and that if they don't return with the demon's horn, they will kill the children to siphon their souls and increase their power to be able to cast a spell to resurrect 2 of their dead sisters from the coven. Calliope then explains that she doesn't want to fight the demon. She feels that the party isn't ready to take on a demon, really, and convinces the demon to help them kill the hags. So she has turned the fight around to convince the demon, can you really trust the word of a demon, to basically convince this demon to turn on the hags and that they'll find a way to trick the hags and then the demon can help defeat the hags. The demon explains should they do this and help him get rid of the treacherous hags, he will provide them with a clue about a very powerful magical artifact. The demon also senses Phelan's gauntlet, and he tries to summon her to his side, but Phelan resists the gauntlet's urge to go to his side. The demon explains that the gauntlet has evil origins and that he can help her be free of it, if she agrees to give it to him when she's free. The demon agrees and summons the party into a summoning circle where he awaits outside, feigning death and defeat. Ellie uses a minor illusion to create a fake demon horn. Now knowing what the Armonite's horn should look like, the hags ask for it and question how they dragged this massive demon body all the way back within a day's time. Ellie explains that they have access to magic these hags have never heard of before, which was probably the wrong thing to say considering these hags have proclaimed to be over 2,000 years old, and one of the things they are especially good at is magic. So her words essentially insult the hags, and the hags launch an attack. And who didn't see that coming, because who can trust the word of a hag, am I right? Ellie quickly retreats outside the cave where the others ambush the hags, though the Armonite demon is slow to rise, perhaps waiting to see if the heroes keep their word or if this is all a trick and they're actually siding with the hags. Actually, he had rolled a critical fail on his initiative, and in my house rules, a natural 20 gives you 2 actions. With a natural 20 due to adrenaline being flowing through you, a critical fail on initiative means you don't get a turn. Whether it's because you freaked out, you dropped your weapon, whatever the case might be, a natural 1 means you don't get to go on that round of initiative. So that is why the actual demon is taking his time. It's just flavored that he was keeping an eye on the heroes to see if they're actually fighting the hags, or if this was all a trick with the hags and the heroes to kill the demon, to lure him out and trap him. A large fight breaks out with the heroes siding with the demon and fighting the hags. 2 of the hags cause incredible amount of damage to Trogdor and Alric, forcing Phelan to try to keep everyone standing with heals. She is quickly burning through her spell slots as these hags are ripping through them. Once the demon sees the heroes keep their word, he begins attacking the hags as well. And together, with the demon's force behind them, the hags are quickly no match, and the hags are defeated. With their defeat, the demon asks the party if they would like to go home. The party ensures, using their words carefully, that they will, along with the children, be teleported back home safely. So they emphasize all of these things with the demon, and the demon wholeheartedly agrees to teleport the children back to safety out of the Shadow Realm. The party realizes at that point, when they're teleported out, that they had not searched the hags' coven, their cavern, anywhere, nor did they ask the demon about this hint of a magical artifact. And now with the 10 children saved, the party heads back to Redstone to return the children to their parents. And it's at that moment Trogdor realizes, why was the demon so eager to send these children home? With the hags defeated, the hags didn't need these children. But there was a reason this demon wanted these children to be out of this plane and onto the regular plane of Earth. We'll find out why soon.